Welcome back to the channel. Today we are breaking down apostrophes, one of the trickiest punctuation marks on the digital SAT. Whether it is deciding if you're dealing with possessives, plurals, or contractions, apostrophe questions can easily trip you up if you're not careful. Many students struggle with questions like is it its or it apostrophe s, or where exactly should the apostrophe go. These are common stumbling blocks that can cost you valuable points, but I've got you covered. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the clear and simple rules for using apostrophes correctly so that by the end, you will never second guess yourself on test day. So let us dive in and make apostrophes your best friend on the SAT. This video is going to cover topics like nouns, possessives and plural, contraction with verb, how to approach singular and plural possessives in sentences, and pronouns, their possessive, plural and verb contractions forms. Let's get started with this. Now when it comes to nouns, the plural nouns, we basically add an s or es to make something plural, right? To make a noun plural, we basically just add an s or es. Look at this example. The doctors are working. Now we are talking about plural doctors. Many doctors are working, so we simply added an s to the noun doctor, right? That is how it became plural. The buses are arriving. Again, we are talking about many buses, more than one bus is arriving. That is why we've used es over here to make bus plural, right? This is simply the plural form of the nouns. How do we create a plural form? By adding an s or es. Now, when it comes to the apostrophe usage, specifically for possessive singular nouns, what do? We add an apostrophe s, right? Now let's look at an example. The doctor's stethoscope. So we are talking about one doctor because this form is singular. Apostrophe s over here means that we are talking about somebody's stethoscope, and whose stethoscope are we talking about? This doctor's. To show that the stethoscope belongs to the doctor, we have used an apostrophe s. The business is ours. Now do you notice business ends with an s already? But even though it ends with an s, it doesn't matter. To show the possession, I have got to use an apostrophe s. Now, what does this show? The hours of the business. Whose hours? The business is ours. Business hours. Now, let's go ahead and understand the possessive forms when it comes to plural nouns. Now, when it comes to plural nouns, you already have an s. Like, for example, doctor is singular and doctors is plural. You already have an s. So, how do you show the possession when the plural form already has an s? You basically just add an apostrophe and do not add any s after it. So, this is enough. Just adding an apostrophe after a plural form is enough to show that something belongs to somebody. In this case, the stethoscopes, they belong to the doctors. Now, similarly, the next example is using the term businesses. Now, again, this is ending with an s, but because it's a plural form ending with an s, to show possession, I'm going to use simply one apostrophe. There will be no s after it, right? And clearly shows that the hours of the businesses. Whose hours? Businesses hours. Now let's understand contraction with verb. Now look at this sentence. The teacher's grading her work. First of all, the sentence is grammatically incorrect because I do have the subject, but where is the verb? There is no verb in it, right? Because there's no verb, the sentence is going to be incorrect. Now look at how we've corrected the sentence. The teacher apostrophe as grading her work. Now think about it. Can the teachers possess grade? Like, can there be a possession for grading? No, right? They can't own grading. Nobody can own grading. So in this case, what is this apostrophe s trying to say? It's basically is. So the sentence is basically, if I read it out loud, it is the teacher is grading her work. It's a contraction of verb, right? You can contract a verb with apostrophe s when it comes to is, right? So when in confusion, let's say you were confused if this apostrophe has to show possession or if this is a contraction of verb, you have to simply ask yourself, can this thing be owned by the subject over here? Like, can the teacher own grading? It's illogical to say that, which means what is this? This is a verb. Break it down and read the sentence out loud to understand if it's making grammatical and logical sense. Now, how do we approach singular and plural possessives in sentences? To reduce this whole confusion of what to do first, let's break down our steps. The first thing to do is identify whether the noun is singular or plural. The first basic step know what that noun is. What is the form of it? Is it a singular noun? Do I need a singular noun? Do I need a plural noun? The context is going to help you understand that better. Once you have understood that, okay, let's say this is a singular noun that we are talking about, then eliminate all the plural forms in the options that you find, right? So in any option, if you find a plural form of it, straight away eliminate it, because we know what kind of a noun we require. We require a singular form noun. Once you have gained this understanding, the second step is, do I want to show a possession? Is there something being owned by this noun? Or is there a contraction of verb? You have to identify this. Do I want to show possession, or is there any contraction of verb, or nothing at all? This is the second step, guys. So two steps. First steps, identify if it's a singular form or a plural form noun. The second thing is there an ownership? Is there a contraction of verb? Or there's nothing that I need to do? Like, just, we don't require an apostrophe whatsoever. With this understanding, let's take up a question now. Since I was young, my family has always met at my uncle's lake cabin every summer. I just want to understand, first of all, whether we are talking about singular uncle or a plural uncle. Are there more uncles, or we're talking about only one uncle? This is the first thing that I want to understand. Now, read ahead to understand how many uncles are we talking about. My aunt and uncle built the cabin long ago. So there you go. There's only one uncle that we are referring to, which means this form, the form of this noun, should be singular. So is it when we read it, right? Like, uncle is already singular. Now the second thing is, do I want to show possession? The lake cabin belongs to this uncle, right? There's an ownership. Whose lake cabin are we talking about? We're talking about uncle's lake cabin. So the apostrophe S is correctly placed, showing the possession, right? Showing that the uncle owns, or the lake cabin belongs to uncle. Now, with this understanding, let's read ahead. My aunt and uncle built the cabin long ago and still spend their summers there from May to August. The cabin's view is breathtaking. Now, just take a pause over here. Again, we have an apostrophe over here. So let's ask the first question. Are we talking about a singular cabin or plural cabins? So clearly, the whole text was about one lake cabin, right? So we are definitely talking about one cabin, singular cabin, which means the placement of apostrophe after S and having nothing after it is definitely wrong, correct? We want to show a singular cabin. So let's start by removing the S. Okay, now we have the noun cabin. Now we want to understand, do I want to show possession? Whose view is breathtaking? Cabin's view. You got the answer to it, right? Which means there is a possession, correct? Now, what do I want to do to it? Cabin apostrophe S. This is the right way to show possession with a singular noun. If you were confused, let's say if you want to just check if this is a contraction of verb or not, break it down. So when I break it down, what do I have? The cabin is view is breathtaking. Doesn't make sense, right? The cabin is view is doesn't make sense whatsoever. Which means I don't want to do any contraction of verb. There's definitely something being owned by somebody or something possessed by somebody. That's view we are talking about. View is of the cabin, right? So there is a possession, which means I definitely require an apostrophe. How do I show the apostrophe? Singular cabin form apostrophe S, correct? I hope you understood the steps that you need to take in order to understand if this is a singular form or a plural form, or do I want to show possession, do I want to show a contraction of verb, or nothing at all. Now, with this understanding, let's go ahead and see the pronouns now. When it comes to pronouns, there's this question which always revolves, that is its versus it apostrophe S. What is the difference between its without an apostrophe and it apostrophe S? It's basically nothing but, it apostrophe S is nothing but a shorter form of it is, right? And its is used to show possession. This is used for possession. It apostrophe S will never show possession. It's basically a contraction of verb. And there is nothing called as its apostrophe. So if any option states its apostrophe, eliminate it straight away. It's simply incorrect. So it apostrophe S is nothing but a shorter form of it is. And its without an apostrophe is used to show possession, owning of something. Now let's understand the difference between the apostrophe re, there, and there, there. This is nothing but the plural form of it. Let's understand this. So they apostrophe S, similar to it apostrophe S, is nothing but a shorter form of they are. This is a contraction of verb. To show possession, what will I use? I will use a there, right? This is the possessive form, there. And there is nothing but it refers to the location. It's nothing to do with possession or the contraction of verb. It simply refers to location or a place. Now let's understand who apostrophe s versus whose. Now similarly, who apostrophe s is nothing but who is, right? A shorter form of who is. This is not used to show possession. What do I use to show possession? Whose. WHOSE. Now, one thing that I want you to remember is that the pronoun WHO will always refer to people, but when it comes to WHOSE, whose, it can refer to people and objects both. Right? This is something that I need you to understand when it comes to apostrophes. All the questions that you come across on the test when it comes to apostrophes are always going to be revolving around these types. That's all for now. Thank you.